back to Kung Fu Maintenance. Well, got some cleanup to do around these areas, but wanted to give you a basic walkthrough about the boiler components. If there's a lot of interest in this video and people like it, I'll try to go more in depth on each of the controls.
The boiler system with the tank set up here. Got a lot going on with this, but we're going to run through a few things. This is your boiler. This one's a Raypack. It's a pretty nice machine. Inside you've got a pump that pumps the water for the boiler. Here you've got a one-way check valve, so water can only flow this way. Water comes in to the boiler here, feed, goes through the loop, comes back on the other side, back to here. Here you've got a flow switch. This is senses flow, and if there's not enough flow, then it shuts the equipment off. So it's pretty cool. Right here is a T&P valve, temperature and pressure relief valve. And you know, got a little corrosion here, but that's no big deal. But you got your ball valve, check valve, and then a tank stat. This you can cause the boiler to fire by raising it up and lowering. I show it a little bit in a few other videos. And then you've got your tank here and anode rods, the pressure gauge. Yeah, the tank also has its own T&P valve. And then it's, of course, got a deal off the side where it can drain out, release the pressure closer to the ground as a safety. So there's that T&P valve. Then we've got earthquake strapping for the tank. That's important. Especially, I just had a small earthquake this morning. Right here we've got our recirculator pump, recirculation pump. This one's actually hooked up on a T-stat. It's kind of getting old, seeing some age. And it's you know, anyway, this when the temperature is low enough or needs more heat, then it kicks on. Most of them is just a straight pump, recirc pump. I've got hydronic units, so that's what this all actually comes from. This is the return side. Right here you've got hose bibs, which I showed on a video a while back, how you can bleed air from the line, but there's actually a better way to do it. You might wonder what these valves are for. That's so you can turn these off and then bleed the air from your line just where it's coming in from the hydronic units. That's usually the last unit that's on the hydronic line that'll bleed the air from.
Depending on your setup.
But anyway, the hot water is going out, and then this is where it's coming back in. The recirc pump is sucking the hot water through to complete the loop. So if you turn these valves off, it's just a little bit better for bleeding the air from the line, in that it won't take it from the tank instead. Although it may not super matter, but anyway, that's what these shut-off valves are for and the reason that they're there. Alright, welcome back to Kung Fu Maintenance. Got a nice Raypack boiler here. Got a two-stage setup, which is pretty cool. If one boiler goes down, then the other can still keep hot water.
One's the primary and one's the secondary.
Kind of nice system. Boilers are really cool because if you do have a boiler go down, you can reset it in 5 minutes. You can have heat again. So it just depends. It's pretty cool.
Heat, not
that
water.
Being said, it's not really something you want to service necessarily yourself. It's better to hire a professional, and you know, it might be a good idea to be on a maintenance program with a company for boilers. You know, it's a gas firing equipment. It's very dangerous. A lot of stuff going on. That being said, there's some common problems and things that happen with them. But I just kind of wanted to run through some of the parts. Here's your pump, and then you got that's a ball valve shut off. Right here's a temperature and pressure relief valve. Here's a tank stat, but this is actually hooked up to the tank itself. Here's the tank, and then we've got another kind of earthquake strapping here. And on the sides here is your anode rods. Anode rods is a sacrificial rod. It actually takes a lot of the abuse from the water. There's a lot of stuff in the water that might attack the copper and stuff like that. And that actually, you know, that sacrificial rod takes the beating for the system so that the rest of the system doesn't. Let's see, we've got check valves, so the water can only flow one way. And then we've got an air tank over there.
Expansion
and
tank.
some fluctuations in the system. Over on this side we got a recirc pump. This one's actually off the ground. Got a ball valve over there. Again, another check valve, so letting things go one way. And then our recirc pump line.
So this is the return side. Water is coming back. The feed is on the left side, and then the hot water is supplied on the right hand where the yellow valve is, but the feed is on the left hand side where the yellow valve is. Cold water is supplied. There's two loops, hot water. The bottom loop is the cold water, and the higher loop is the hot water, and then the feed is up and over from the top of the tank. And this is a return line from the hydronic system coming back around. So water returns back through these lines, and the pump sucks it up and over, and then there's a one-way check valve, and then there's a ball valve there to turn it off if needed. And so you've got two loops for direction of flow. Colder water is on the bottom, hotter water is on the top, and then the feed goes up and over the top. I explained this a little bit better in my video on the boiler direction of flow and the path of the hot water, but just wanted to touch on it here so you can get a better understanding. And this has been a bit about the components. Hopefully in the future I go in deeper on each of these components and what they actually do in the system a little bit further. This one just kind of pointing them out, talking about them a little bit. The expansion tank back there helps to protect the system, buffer it against changes in the system. Those kind of need to be changed every once in a while. This is the cold water feed.
Okay, so cold water comes in here. This is our supply. It goes down here, it's fed to the boiler.
And on some setups you'll see the boiler pump before the boiler and some of them after the boiler. It's basically providing the push and pull for the water, and as long as the flow is correct, then it's proper, and it's before the one-way check valve so that everything's flowing the proper direction. There's definitely some debate about which side's better.
This side is some float switches. Here's our gas line. This one's a flexible gas line. Flexible gas line. Okay, I had a small earthquake this morning, so just kind of looking things over, making sure everything's good. Strapping's in place, and good. No odors, no gas smells, no leaks. Pretty important. There on the bottom is a cold loop, and goes to the tank, and then the top one is the hot loop. But the cold water feed is actually on the top, but the way gravity in its thing, cold water is heavier than hot water. Hot water is delivered out through the top here, down up and over. Cold water is fed to the boilers, heated up. Back. Here's the inlet to the boiler, and then the outlet to the boiler here. So here's the in to this boiler, and then the out to this boiler, and it's fed back through this pipe here, coming along the top, up and over. So you have two loops for the boiler system. The lower one, the cold loop, higher one, the hot loop, and then the feed. And the feed. And here's our return loop from a hydronic circulator pump, and then the end loop for the hydronic heaters. Comes back around. Here you've got a one-way check valve, so water can only flow this way. Water comes in to the boiler here, feed goes through the loop, comes back on the other side, back to here, and then fed through the unit. This one's a two-stage system, so the first one doesn't keep up with it, the second one kicks in, does its thing.
Previously on Kung Fu Maintenance I showed you this boiler making a loud sound, and I finally got around to making the video on the answer on that, on what was causing this loud noise. It's kind of an interesting one, but it helps to show the circulation of flow as it passes through the tube bundle around the headers and through the heat exchanger.
If you find these videos helpful, a one-time donation would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you support me on Patreon, helps me do what I do. There are some special perks for Patreon supporters, and we'll see you on the next one.
Interpret a Christian to another chamber, where a man had just awakened. He trembled and shook as he put on his raiment. Christian asked, why are you so afraid? Just this night I dreamed a dream, the heavens had been exceeding black. It thundered like that, it put me through to an agony. I looked up, my heart it pounded. A man was seated on a cloud, attended by thousands of heavenly hosts. They were all in flaming fire. Then I heard a terrible voice, arise, you dead, and come to judgment. The rocks they rent, the graves they opened, the dead came forth. Some looked up, was exceeding black. Others tried to hide under the mountains, but they could not be hid. The one on the cloud with the world draw near, and the books they were opened up. Gather together, tears the chapters double, cast them in the fire, the bottomless pit. It was open just about where I stood. Out of the mouth of the witch there came smoke and fire, hideous noises. But gather my weed into the gone. Why are you so afraid at the sight? I thought the day of judgment had come and I was not ready. Gathered up many, but I was left. Also the pit of hell open right where I stood. Have you considered all these things? Asked the interpreter. Yes, they put me in hope and fear. Well, keep all these things in your mind, that they may be a goad in your side to prick you forward in the way you must go. May the Comforter be with you always, to guide you in the way that leads to eternal life. On the road again, I'm pressing on towards the prize.